What if a handful of minerals held the keys to America's most critical defense systems and, the whole global clean energy future? And our biggest geopolitical rival just claimed the power to basically turn off the tap.
Yeah, that's not a what if anymore, is it? That's pretty much where we are right now. The stakes are just incredibly high.
Absolutely. So today we are doing a deep dive into this massive confrontation over critical materials. We're really unpacking China's move here, weaponizing rare earth exports. It feels like a strategic power play, asserting their technological sovereignty.
It is. And we're also looking at countermeasures, right? What the U.S. and allies are scrambling to do to protect, well, everything, national security, economic independence.
And the timeline that kicked this all off is super tight. It was just, October 9th? China suddenly expanded export controls on rare earths and the related tech.
Yeah, dramatically expanded them, positioning Beijing not just as, the main supplier, but as the regulator, the gatekeepers for stuff, vital to defense, vital to high-tech globally.
And the U.S. response came like lightning. The very next day, October 10th, President Trump threatening that additional 100% tariff on Chinese goods.
Which is huge. You add that to what's already there, and you're looking at what, roughly 130% total tariff burden on some things? It was a massive signal.
Definitely a high-stakes signal, saying the U.S. sees this supply chain thing as, almost existential.
And that rapid fire back and forth, that's really the setup for what we need to unpack. This deep dive leads up to those big talks just a couple of weeks later, October 26th.
Right, which resulted in that very substantial framework deal. It put the brakes on the tariff clash, temporarily anyway, and paused China's rare earth restrictions.
So our mission here is to figure out the huge risks that got us to that brink and, what kind of deal was struck to get that pause.
Okay, let's start with segment one, China's coercion. Why these rare earth? You hear the term, maybe think smartphones, but why are they so potent that controlling them becomes an instrument of geopolitical leverage?
Well, they're fundamental. They're the bedrock of modern, precision industry and the high-tech battlefield. We're talking indispensable stuff for high-end manufacturing.
Like what specifically?
Think robotics, specialized motors for EVs, electric vehicles, and crucially, military hardware. If you're building precision-guided munitions, advanced missiles, secure radar systems, you need these rare earth magnets.
So no magnet, no system.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Period. You can't get the magnet, you can't build the weapon system. It's that direct.
And China clearly saw this wasn't just, something to sell. It was a strategic weapon. They turned it into a tool for asserting technological sovereignty, as they call it, a deliberate policy.
Exactly. It's not just market forces. And the military targeting isn't subtle. It's right there in the new rules. China is now denying export licenses to foreign military users, defense contractors.
Any applications involving military or dual-use tech?
Their stated goal, very clearly, is to stop Chinese resources from supporting, quote, adversarial defense programs. I mean, it's basically economic warfare wrapped in regulatory language.
And this idea of long-arm jurisdiction seems, pretty aggressive. China trying to exert control way beyond its borders. How does that actually work? Why should, say, a manufacturer in Ohio care?
It's a major power grab, this extraterritorial control. It's kind of like how the U.S. uses its own foreign direct product rule, the FDPR, but maybe even broader in intent here.
Okay, so how does their rule work?
Under China's new rule, foreign-made items, items made outside China, now need an export license from Beijing if they contain just 0.1% or more by value of Chinese origin rare earths.
Wait, hold on, 0.1%, that's almost nothing.
It is almost nothing. And that's the point, right? Think about it. You're making, say, a complex guidance system for a missile in Texas.
Okay.
It might have one tiny critical magnet, maybe sourced indirectly from China, accounting for less than 1% of the total cost. Under this rule, China now says they have the right to veto the export of that entire guidance system, even though it was made completely in the U.S.
Wow, so they're embedding their control right into global supply chains.
Deeply. It essentially lets them dictate who can build what, where, and for who, globally. It's an industrial chokehold, seriously.
Okay, if that's the threat, we need to look at segment two, Western vulnerability. This reliance, it's clearly a huge strategic risk. How deep does this exposure actually go, especially for defense?
Oh, it's immediate. It's profound. Our sources are calling the U.S. defense and aerospace sectors acutely exposed. That means dangerously reliant.
And not just the U.S., right? This is NATO-wide.
Absolutely. It's a systemic vulnerability across the alliance. Well, you can't let a rival control the essential inputs for your most advanced defense systems if you're serious about deterrence.
And the security impact is real right now. Before this deferral deal, the expectation was these restrictions would immediately slow down U.S. defense production.
That's right. Fewer advanced munitions, fewer missile guidance systems rolling off the line. That directly hits military readiness, our ability to ramp up if there's a crisis.
And it's not just defense hardware they're targeting, is it?
No, not at all. Crucially, the controls also hit advanced semiconductors.
Yeah.
The really cutting-edge stuff. We're talking 14-nanometer and below logic chips and 256-layer and higher memory tech.
Which, for people not deep in tech specs, 14 nanometer. That's the frontier, right? The power needed for advanced AI machine learning.
Exactly. The stuff that fuels modern computing and innovation. China's trying to put a chokehold on the future of high-tech itself, not just current military gear.
And then there's the hit to consumers, to the energy transition. They also expanded controls to include synthetic graphite anode materials.
Yes, which is fundamental for lithium-ion batteries. Every EV battery, every big grid storage project needs it.
So they're tightening their grip on the whole clean energy sector, too. Not just the rare earths for motors, but battery components as well.
Precisely. They control key inputs across the board. And the ripple effect inevitably hits consumers everywhere. Supply chain worries, actual disruptions, it means higher prices.
For EVs, electronics, solar panels.
You name it. And that dampens investment confidence, right? It slows down the very innovation we need for economic growth across the West.
Which leads us straight into segment 3, the Western defense. The response needed to be big, framed as essential for survival, needing sustained industrial mobilization. Sounds like heavy government action.
It had to be.
Yeah.
And we are seeing a really concerted industrial defense effort led by the U.S. The DoD, the Department of Defense, isn't just doing subsidies anymore.
What are they doing?
They're taking direct stakes.
Yeah.
The sources show DoD putting in $400 million in equity into MP materials. That makes the Pentagon the single largest shareholder, plus a $150 million loan.
Wow, $400 million equity. That's the government becoming a major industrial player. And the goal is specifically that domestic mine-to-magnet capability, building a new magnet factory in Texas.
That's the key. That vertical integration mine-to-magnet is critical.
Why is that so important, doing it all domestically?
Because it breaks the old chain. Historically, the U.S. might mine the ore here, ship it to China for all the complex processing, refining, magnet making, and then would buy the finished magnet back.
Giving China control of the valuable part.
Exactly. All the value add, all the control points. By investing in mine-to-magnet here, the U.S. cuts that reliance, ensures a secure domestic supply of the final critical product.
And the private sector is getting involved too. I saw Apple made a big commitment.
Yeah, a $500 million partnership with MP Materials. Buying U.S.-made magnets, specifically from recycled materials, too, which is interesting. It shows there's market demand pulling this domestic capacity along.
So besides building new capacity, what else? You mentioned resilience measures.
Right, two main operational things Western nations are focused on. First is diversification and expansion. Basically, pump up production quickly from places like the California rare earth mine, and work closely with allies we trust, Australia, Canada, to build supply chains that don't run through China.
Okay, build alternative routes. And the second measure?
That's about immediate security, stockpiles. Governments building up strategic reserves of the really important magnet-grade materials, and also investing big in large-scale recycling and urban mining.
What's the difference there, strategically, stockpiles versus recycling?
Diversification is the long game, right? Securing flows for the next decade. Stockpiling, that's your break glass in case of emergency fund, like an insurance policy.
And recycling, urban mining.
That's about creating supply from within. The goal is actually pretty ambitious. Plans aim to get up to 1/3 of critical material needs from these domestic, recycled, secure sources during a major crisis. That's real insurance against future blackmail.
Okay, let's shift to segment 4. The art of leverage and that tense de-escalation. Just before the talks, things were scary. U.S. threatening that 100% tariff, China hitting back with port fees, saying they'd fight to the end. That's brinkmanship.
It was absolutely economic combat, very high stakes, very tense. The breakthrough, the de-escalation, happened in those Kuala Lumpur talks, led by Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. And it was a pretty significant diplomatic outcome, buying some breathing room.
So Bessent got that very substantial framework, the immediate win was taking the 100% U.S. tariff threat off the table, right? And China agreed to hit pause on rolling out those rare earth export controls.
Correct. And it needed serious leverage to get there.
And the administration wasn't shy about where that leverage came from.
Not at all. Bessent was explicit. He said President Trump's very aggressive tariff threat gave the U.S. team a great deal of leverage in those talks.
So the willingness to hit hard economically is what forced China to back down on the rare earths, at least for now.
That's certainly the administration's take, and it seems plausible given the timing. The threat of massive economic pain forced the concession on the immediate chokehold tactic.
But crucially, what did the U.S. not give up?
That's equally important.
Yeah.
The U.S. confirmed it made zero changes to its own existing export controls as part of this deal.
So the restrictions on advanced semiconductor chips going to China, limits on Chinese investment, those all stayed firmly in place.
Exactly. The framework kept the tough U.S. stance on high-tech intact, while dodging the immediate economic train wreck the rare earth controls could have caused.
So this deal essentially bought time.
It bought valuable time. Time for those Western industrial mobilization efforts, the DoD investments, the mine-to-magnet push to gain traction. Because that acceleration is the only real long-term way to shield our defense and energy sectors from this kind of coercion, which, let's face it, is likely to continue in some form.
Okay, so summing up the big picture, this whole rare earth export regime by China, it's not just some temporary trade spat. It feels like a deliberate long-term strategy for geopolitical influence, constantly testing Western resolve.
Yeah, relying on an adversary for critical supply chains is just...
Yeah.
Well, it's a fundamental strategic risk. It demands constant vigilance, sustained investment.
The U.S. and allies managed to get a temporary truce here, using economic muscle and starting that industrial mobilization. But you have to wonder, right? China's goal seems bigger, reshaping global tech power.
Exactly. So let's say we managed to secure the physical stuff, the magnets, the graphite. What's next? What non-material levers might Beijing pull? Think about their control over technological know-how, intellectual property.
The designs, the processes.
The industrial knowledge itself. Could that be the next way they try to constrain Western industrial sovereignty? Controlling the knowledge base might just be the next battlefield.
That is definitely something serious for you to think about, the true meaning of industrial sovereignty in today's world. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.